Have you ever gotten a text, or maybe a series of texts, that made you wonder whether the person on the other end was a raging narcissist? I sure have, and I'm going to tell you all about my experience as I go through the 7 signs that you're texting a narcissist. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Common Ego community. My name is Christina. On this channel, we talk about emotional abuse, red flags, and sometimes we touch on spirituality. So today we're talking about signs that you might be texting a narcissist. When you're in this place where you're wondering if you're texting a narcissist, it's probably the early stages of a relationship. So maybe it's somebody you just started dating, or maybe it's a new friend. But usually at this stage, you're texting more than you're actually seeing the person in person. So this is really the only way that you can get a feel for who they are. And this is also the stage where you want to cut things off before it goes too far if you are seeing red flags. So the first sign that you're texting a narcissist is negging. Now, I have a whole video on this, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But negging is essentially a backhanded compliment that is said in a playful manner that is kind of akin to flirting. So the person is making you feel good and making you feel bad at the same time. Now, there are lots of ways that someone can do this, but for the most part, they're pointing out your flaws. And in my video about negging, which I will link to, I go through some real life examples so that you can maybe identify that this is going on in your life or your relationship. It can come across as harmless, but things can really escalate from here. If someone's comfortable insulting you to your face this early, it's really not a good sign. And I'll add that it's an especially bad sign if they can insult you, but they can't take it in return. So they can dish it out, but they can't take it. So the second sign that you might be texting a narcissist is the one-sided conversation. And this is going to be consistent throughout your relationship with this person. And this happens because a narcissist really only has so much of an attention span for someone else's stuff. If it doesn't have anything to do with a narcissist, they're gonna back out really quick, and they might even be rude about it. So for example, they might ask you about your day because they know that that's something that people should do, right? If you're interested in someone, you should be interested in what goes on in their life. But if you take too long to explain something, or if you go into too much detail, they might rudely tell you that they didn't ask for all that. They were just wondering if it was good or bad. And at the same time, they're going to share everything about their lives. They're going to unload on you, but not accept when you have something to say that doesn't involve them. It's going to be a very one-sided conversation that is really all about the other person. And this can be a little bit tricky for people who are a little bit insecure, or maybe people-pleasing type people, because you don't love to have the focus on you. Right? So if someone else is taking that spotlight, you might feel more comfortable, but pay attention to how they respond when you do have something to say. If they're shutting you down, it is a major red flag. So another sign that you might be texting with a narcissist is that it's very transactional in feeling. And this is only a red flag if it's not an actual transaction. If there is some sort of transaction going on, then it should be transactional, right? But with a narcissist, it's very much that they're reaching out to you because they need something from you. And this person may only reach out to you when they need something from you, or they may just keep that focus on that thing. And if you're not giving them what they want, they're out. Essentially here, what you're looking for is someone who makes you feel like if you're not doing for them in some way, that you have no value. Now, another sign that you're texting with a narcissist is gaslighting. And gaslighting does not appear obvious in the beginning. So this is something that you kind of have to be aware of. So in the later stages of a relationship, somebody who's gaslighting you is going to be very good at it because they know all the buttons to push. In the early stages, they don't. So they're kind of just going to be feeling around. Now, there are 2 things that I want to point out here with gaslighting in the early stages of a relationship with a narcissist when you're just texting. So they may lay the groundwork for later abuse in this phase. And what I'm talking about here is they may start to label you as something that you're really not. Now, this is an important distinction because if you really are this thing, then it's not gaslighting. So they might label you as jealous or controlling, You know, they might say something like, or they might text something like, you're a little jealous, aren't you? But that's okay, I find it cute. Or you're a little controlling, but I can handle it. If you have never identified as being jealous or controlling or whatever it is that they're putting on you, and you've never heard that from anyone else before, the person on the other end of this text might be gaslighting you. Just pay attention to those little things, to those little labels and nicknames that they're giving you early on. If they're mildly insulting or seem out of character for who you are, that's a red flag. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about with gaslighting early on is to pay attention to how they talk about politics and religion, if they talk about politics and religion. Now, I don't necessarily recommend bringing that stuff up, but if it comes up, somebody who's really comfortable with gaslighting is going to make you feel like your views are absolutely absurd, that you are being brainwashed by whatever religion or whatever political party. They will outright tell you that you and your views are wrong, that there is only one side, there's only one right side, and it is theirs. Because most people know that the world is not so black and white, that we can have discussions about things even if we disagree. And now, whether you're dealing with a narcissist or not, if somebody is doing this to you, if somebody is outright telling you that you're wrong and you're being brainwashed, what they're saying is that you're not smart enough to make your own decisions and that someone else is controlling you, and you need to stop letting them control you and let this other person control you, because you can't make decisions for yourself, clearly. If you're seeing this early on, I would take it as a blessing in disguise, so you know what this person is all about, and you can make your decision from here. So another sign that you're texting with a narcissist is that they tend to run hot and cold for no reason. Seemingly for no reason, let's say. So this person might be all about you. They might be all love bombing and not give you a second to yourself, right? They want to spend all their time with you. They want to text you all the time, hear from you, and then suddenly, as if out of nowhere, they're aloof. Maybe they're even ghosting you. Disappear, and then they come back. And you're wondering what you did to deserve this kind of treatment, but there's no real answer. So when it comes to these kinds of things, it doesn't always mean that somebody is a narcissist just because they were interested and then not interested. The red flag is the interested, not interested, interested again. So going from hot to cold and hot to cold without any real explanation, you can bet there's something else going on there. There's something going on behind the scenes. And if somebody is making you feel like you have to compete for their attention, like you are somehow not good enough at any point, especially in this early phase of a relationship, this is your opportunity to see your way out. Okay, so the next sign that you're texting a narcissist, this is where my personal experience comes in, is that they get offended very easily. And now I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me, and I'm not saying that this person is a narcissist, but what we're talking about here are red flags in the early stages. And so in these early stages, you're seeing red flags that mean that this person could be a narcissist, and they're bold enough, they're blatant enough that you don't want to take it further. So should you ignore these red flags and take it further, you might find out that this person is a narcissist, and it might be too late. Okay, so this person you're texting with gets offended very easily. Very, very thin-skinned. And this is similar to going hot and cold, but it's essentially all in the same conversation. So everything's fine, you're texting back and forth, and everything is cool. So from my experience, I was texting with somebody I had known for years, but I didn't know him very well. And we were supposed to be hanging out as friends, but we were just texting, I guess, the night before. And I was making this dumb joke, and it wasn't negging. I was not making fun of this person in any way at all. It was just kind of like a goofy joke that I took too far. And by took too far, I mean, I let it go on a little too long. But here's the thing. It was nothing more than that. I just made too many jokes about the same thing. And I can admit that, and I can even laugh about that, like how goofy that was that I did that. It's fine. And I wouldn't have minded if he laughed about that or kind of like jokingly gave me a hard time about it. That's not what he did. He got angry. He got very, very angry. And he tried to shut me down in a very rude way, I might add. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but the way the tone of the conversation shifted so drastically, so fast, was definitely a red flag for me. And so I took a minute. And at this point, I was kind of just starting to work on boundaries, but I came out with it. And I said, listen, I'm getting kind of a weird vibe, and I don't think we should hang out tomorrow. And let me tell you, this person went off the rails. There was this whole long rant about how I was questioning his integrity and how he's the nicest person in the world, and everyone agrees how sweet he is. That is his reputation. And there must be something wrong with me that I'm thinking that, that I wouldn't be safe hanging out with him. And I never said that, but that's kind of where he took it. And so I went to respond, like, all right, calm down. It's okay. I'm just getting a little bit of a bad vibe, and maybe we should do this another time. It's kind of where my head was at. And my text didn't go through because I was blocked. So it went from like making goofy jokes to, the tone changing a little bit too quickly to things like escalating like crazy. And then I was blocked. Because we were also Facebook friends, I instantly checked there. I was blocked there too. And it was like my head was spinning. What is going on here? But I can tell you that I took this as a major win. Because one, if this had happened in person, I think it would have been scary. So I was counting my blessings that this happened over text and that I didn't end up hanging out with this person. So that was my experience, but I'm going to bet that many of you have had similar experiences where things just really got out of hand very quickly, and you're kind of left scratching your head like, what even happened here? If you can relate, let me know in the comments below. Let me know I'm not alone in this. So the last sign that you might be texting with a narcissist is that very early on in this relationship, and that's what we're talking about in this video, is the early stage, that they demand your attention. They expect you to stop whatever you're doing to text them at any time. And so it doesn't matter if you're at work, if you've already told them, I'm at this family event, or I'm at a wedding, I'm here to have fun. I can't really be on my phone the whole time. It's rude. A narcissist will take that as a sign that they need to text more. They need you to prove your love for them or your allegiance to them by stopping what you're doing and texting them. And if you don't, they will throw an outright fit. And what that looks like over text is a whole lot of ultimatums and a whole lot of questioning your loyalty, questioning whether you appreciate them. And they're very likely to give the ultimatum that if you don't text me back immediately, we are over. Now with this, I want to add a caveat because I know that many of you have been in relationships with narcissists for an extended period of time. And when you're in a relationship with a narcissist for so long, you're going to feel some level of uncertainty in the relationship. Now, in a lot of the relationships, they have given you reason to believe that they're cheating. They may have even given you evidence that they're cheating. And so you might get uncomfortable if you're in this and trying to make the relationship work. You might actually get uncomfortable that they're not texting you back right away, especially when they're not really doing anything special, or if they're telling you they're somewhere and you don't believe them. So you might feel like you're on the other end of this, but I'm just going to say it's different when the other person has given you reason not to trust them. What we're talking about here in these red flags is simply demanding attention, especially when this person hasn't been in your life for a very long time. This is someone that you may feel an intense connection with because they may be love bombing you, and they might use that as a reason for the intensity of their messages. But if you didn't know this person 2 weeks ago, and you're at a family event or whatever, and they're demanding that you return their texts immediately or else, it's a major red flag. So those are 7 red flags that you might be texting a narcissist. And in all of these, I would say that if you're really getting that feeling that something's up, you might want to consider cutting this person from your life. Of course, no one wants to overreact, but especially if you're seeing one of these signs really strong, or if you're seeing multiple signs that this person might be a narcissist. Think about what you could lose by ignoring these red flags. If you get caught up in a relationship with a narcissist, you can easily lose your connection with yourself. You can lose your confidence. You can lose your self-worth. And none of that is worth it. It doesn't matter what this person has. It doesn't matter what connections they have, if they're attractive, if they're charismatic. None of that is worth losing your sense of self. So I'm going to link to that video, and I suggest you watch it, especially if you're thinking about ignoring any of these red flags. And I will see you next time.